Yeah.
Coming back, all right, welcome to discussion session for whatever date today is, April 8th. We're a little bit late here today, so a little bit of cut agenda, which, take it away.
Tonight's agenda, we have a conditional use hearing for 360 Castellana Boulevard for the use of part of the property for warehouse self-storage. That's the J-Lab G property. Consideration to execute an agreement with Asbury Heights of UPMC for a payment in lieu of taxes. This is at least the third or fourth one that we've done since I've been here. We have the consideration of reapproval of a lot consolidation plan on McFarland Road, 1701. That's the Chabad of South Hills. We also have the consideration for final approval of a site plan at that same location for a rear yard landing pad. We have consideration for the extension of our street rejuvenation contract for 2025. Also the extension of our crack sealing contract for 2025, and then the consideration to purchase a 2025 Jacobson SFL1 Elite All-Electric Fairway Mower from Baker
Recording in
Systems,
progress.
which I think was discussed at the last discussion session for the
What do we got? First one,
Andrew.
financial report.
Me.
Ready to roll.
Da-da-da.
Then did this, can't see. Come on, move this, sorry guys, had it on present mode, but. We're street programs, all right. So, yes, so I know that we're on a time crunch here, so I will go quickly. I may not go through all the slides. You have them. We also have, for people at home and the public, our 2024 annual comprehensive financial report, which is our large report, will be out later this month. Along with that, when the May magazine hits the popular annual financial report, which is a more condensed reader-friendly version, will also be hitting mailboxes to be reviewed by the public as well. So those will be available for people to review. So here tonight, I'm just here to briefly go over the financials where we ended up. I have good news to report. People were paid, benefits were maintained, taxes and fees were collected,
Excellent.
capital projects were either moved forward or finished, debt was paid, roads were repaved. I can tell you that happened. So.
And debits equal credits.
And debits have equal credits in the end. Yes, exactly. So just briefly, a couple things I'll focus on that we focus on every year is our fund balance, right? Where did we end up? So in 2024 year end, our fund balance overall decreased by 5.2%. I did jokingly say capital projects finished. Well, there was a lot of carryover that happened that was assigned. So we were expecting that to deplete a little bit with things that were assigned in prior years for it. But the buried within this number is, that's not buried, but on the presentation here in the red box, the 7.5 million that is our unassigned fund balance that has no designated purpose at this time, increased by 5.5% or 17.2% of general fund expenditures. So this is always a consideration for the commission at this time of year is as we move forward, do we want to talk about any unassigned fund spending, fund balance spending? So just to give you an idea that every 1% of it is 436,000 of that 17.2%.
Thank you for making this wonderful clear.
Yes, I do that for you, Steve.
Thank you.
I won't do it. I won't do it next year. So let the next person answer.
Gonna watch the videos. Yeah, I don't want it.
So that's something to be said. So I'll go through this briefly. Real estate taxes decreased a little bit this year due to the millage decrease, as well as some refunds that were on commercial properties. So we had a lot of reassessments that happened on commercial properties. Earned income taxes exceeded prior year, went up 3.8%. So a good year for earned income taxes. Real estate transfer taxes, not a good year for them. About $28 million less in residential transfers, about 70 or so properties less in transferring there. So about $280,000 variance there for real estate transfer tax. This was expected. We started to see this happening. It was noted at budget time and that did come through. Sales taxes also, the RAD tax also slowed as well in 2024. Other noted revenue that we talked about is the impact of the emergency repairs at the ice rink. They did a great job coming back from that in the late 2023 into the 24 fiscal year. Also bringing on the tennis center, the indoor, season in the back half of the year. So we had some new revenues of some variances there. Investment earnings were strong again this year. And, cable franchise fees, this one's for you, Craig, went down another 20,000 for this year, so for 2024. Briefly, personnel costs, there was a positive variance of 697,000 for this year. Primarily due to, positions that were funded that, social services coordinator, I'll use as an example.
Yeah.
It was funded at a full year,
Oh, right.
didn't come in until September.
Okay.
The golf course assistant superintendent position was not filled in 2024.
Right.
So we had variances like that, plus we had some retirements, with some backfilling within, some public safety positions. And so on and so forth. So, there was a positive variance within personnel, there as well. So, contractual services, there was a variance of 180K. Typically, this is for things that are moving forward. A good example is the active transportation plan. Well, bid and accepted, we didn't spend the money in 24, that was $80,000, right? So, those are those types of things that happen. So nothing of note in contractual services or commodities. Commodities, same thing, same stuff, different year. I know I'm not supposed to say the other word. You're welcome. Is we're having a lot of equipment delays, right? So we're just talking today, Rudy and myself, that we're, 11 to 15 months for things that you approved in February, right? So we're not going to be seeing it. So you're going to be seeing carryovers year over year for those types of things.
So some of the stuff rather we can put in 25, may not till 26.
26, right? So, it looks like a large variance because we budgeted accordingly and so on and so
I mean-
forth.
About timing.
So,
Electric golf course lawnmower paid off, and 2,000 savings, fuel costs.
well, I think that was because there were lower fuel costs, but we won't go into that. So, just quickly coming back to fund, so after all these things come to fruition, this looks at, this slide here looks at the budget, the actual, and what that variance is on the deposit in fund balance. So as you can see, about 2.3 million was expected to be used of all fund balance. We were able to maintain with positive variances in some areas, and spending in others. It was only 568,000 in a negative variance for the actual. So we had a positive variance of 1.7 million budgetarily. So that's
Wrapped
good.
into that 17%.
That's correct. Yeah, that's where that comes from.
Okay.
See how we come full circle, Craig? After 8 years, you got it, baby. We're good.
Only took 8 years.
So things we're watching, this is in order. This is in order of, on the revenue side of what we're watching. We're really watching real estate tax appeals. We're getting, the school district's getting slammed on commercial appeals. Now, we are a smaller portion of that, but it is something we're watching. We're working with their office hand in hand as things come in with their solicitor who handles their real estate tax appeals and all that stuff and getting them all the information. So we're apprised of what they're doing because a fair majority of it's on commercial properties.
Do you have a sense of what that is, Andrew? Just like ballpark numbers, top line for what the municipality could potentially lose in terms of those requests for lower taxes?
Our biggest commercial properties have already been hit, so we've already seen
Yeah.
that. So, and we don't, but on the commercial side, that's a bigger 5 times the amount for the school district. We gave you a report a year ago about what was happening.
Yeah.
I can update that report and send it to you about what's been lowered. Yeah, so,
It's like an overall number.
yeah, I can get you that number. I can get you more of an exact number. We have that. Because
Yeah.
we have that ready for the school district. It's really because they're filing all the appeals. And those types of things. Real estate transfer tax trends, we just want to make sure that we're in line with budget and watching it for this year. Earned income tax trends, we've been really heavily relying on earned income tax increasing every year. We need to make sure that that's still happening. I sent a memo to the commission on Friday last week or 2 weeks ago. Our earned income tax collector has been retained as Jordan Tax Service, so it will remain here moving forward for the next 3 years with 2 option years, just to let you know. So we'll have consistency there. So we'll be able to do the same analysis we've done for all the years that we've had with them. So that really leads us into the next conversation that, based on our time constraints tonight, might not be the opportune time to do, but just want to briefly talk about the capital needs in the 2025 bond issue. So this was part of the 2025 budget. Some of these projects have already been bid and accepted. So for instance, the swimming pool filtration project is bid and accepted. Some have been bid and rejected, which is the public safety boiler and HVAC controls replacement. So that number will be revised because we rejected on the last one. But pre-bid meetings, correct me if I'm wrong, David, first, the lighting project, the pickleball construction and fencing, pre-construction meetings have happened.
Those were pre-bid meetings.
Pre-bid meetings, so things are rolling with these projects, so the closer we get to the first meeting in May, to really kind of size up the 2025 bond issue that we discussed last month.
Yep.
So just again, reminding you of the projects that are there and for the public consideration. So I know I was time constrained, but that was 10 minutes.
You get the prize.
Yes, but I will maintain and say, I say this often, and this is a huge team effort. Starts with the manager's direction, but our staff is top notch in making sure that every year we're where we need to be. They're very communicative. We work as a team to get this done, and so it's all of us together that make this happen from the manager on down. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
You could-
Yes, by the way, for our meeting tomorrow.
I can do that. Okay. All right, your turn, Matt.
On item number three, reprograms.
See if I can beat Andrew.
Start that clock.
Well, you got Rudy, so unfair. Hulk Hogan, Rudy Hulk Hogan leg drop.
If these were any smaller,
Yeah,
I'd need
yep.
magnifying glass.
I'm sorry. I appreciate you highlighting the stuff that's going to be fun.
So we're here tonight to, obviously, we were here, or I wasn't, I was otherwise detained, but in February where we reviewed the road programs. So tonight we've received the bids. Where we're at today, we reviewed in February 25th, the proposed streets. We advertised on the 6th. We received bids on the 26th of March. We're here tonight to review kind of our recommendation. And then if all is acceptable to the commission, we would look to award on the 22nd on the agenda, notify contractors of that award the next day, and then work with the public relations to get it on the website, notify residents of the upcoming construction. So that's kind of our current status. On the reconstruction itself, as you may remember, I'm not going to read all the streets, but these were all the streets that were listed under the base and alternate bids. So there were a number of options. The reason we had all the options was just we have a budget, so we're looking to try and fit all those, as many pieces into that budget that we can to maximize the funds there. So that being said, we had 4 contractors that had taken out the specifications. We had 2 bids from contractors, one from Neanda Construction, one from A. Felino. You'll see them on the screen there as far as the total of the base and the total of the alternates. Neanda Construction was our low bidder between the total base and total alternates. But then drilling down a little bit further, Rudy and I talked, and we looked over the streets and we looked over the conditions of the various streets, and we recommended, obviously not everything could be funded under this year's budget. So we recommended that all the base streets be funded, which are Craig Court, Crystal Drive, Helen Drive, Old Hickory, and Ordale. And then there were 7 alternates that we recommended to be awarded as well. 2 of them are relative to the brick palletization with Craig Court and Crystal Drive. Were you gonna say something?
I was just gonna ask if we've identified a location in Public Works to.
Palletize a brick.
Yes.
So we have 2, so those are 2 alternates for, and for those alternates, we took an estimate as regarding how many brick we feel that we can save once we start taking them up.
Yeah, because some are bad.
Because some they'll fall apart and there's
Well,
crack.
some
So,
you can see are crumbled.
yeah, so we have those 2 alternates that we're recommending, as well as the alternates for Old Hickory and Ordale that are drainage that goes along with the base bids that are on the base bid streets. A lot of those 2 alternates are primarily associated with collecting roof drains and eliminating, potential icing issues in the future and getting that water into the system. And then additional streets of Eisenhower Drive, adding that in to the program. And Pin Oak. Pin Oak was a street that we bid last year and it was not awarded. It didn't make the cut just from a budgetary standpoint. So that being the second year on the program and looking at it, we felt that it was, worthwhile to add into the program this year as well as the drainage with it. I did want to highlight, so before I go there, I guess. Your question.
Real quick, one, with the bricks going to be palletized, I'd be curious to see if we could get a number, like, what's the drop off? I'd just be curious to see, we're able to save half the bricks, 3/4, whatever. Just curious. I mean, it is what it is, but just as we're scoring it, just to get a sense of what percentage could be saved.
I don't think there's
No, I
gonna be
don't
much at
think
all.
there's much
Brick
either.
work,
I
Yeah,
looked at it.
yeah. and-
It's
and
pretty crowded.
Even.
Yeah,
even
I just
Crystal.
would be curious when all said and done.
Yeah.
On Crystal, we talked about the steep part, taking that brick and using it for restoration
Redone.
on the upper side,
Yeah.
because there's like some undulation and some,
Right.
some stuff that'll probably need to be
Yeah.
redone.
And we are gonna need some of those brick on Crystal on the hillside because, with Crystal, we're also doing the curbs for the entire roadway. So even the portion that's brick, we're gonna be doing those, replacing those curbs. So there's gonna be a section of brick in front of the curb that we're gonna be pulling out. And obviously, some of those are gonna be broken. So I anticipate that some of those bricks that are on the steep part of Crystal are gonna be needed for replacing in front of those curbs as we
Sure.
replace those.
So also, just so you know, our brick street maintenance program contractor, they charge us when we need a brick. So there's a fee, there's a charge, contractual charge and a unit price for each brick. If we could provide the brick, we would eliminate that charge too.
Mhm.
And we do that every year. So as long as it's a red, matches the
Yeah,
red
as long as
brick.
you can match
Right,
it to some
right, right.
extent. And it's more the thickness than anything else.
Crystal's red, yeah, and so. and-
Crystal's red.
Yeah, crystal's red brick
Crystal
and
is
so
red.
is red cord, yeah,
Uh-huh.
both red.
So we'll but to your point, we will get an idea of how many you are able to save once we get in there.
Hopefully those that didn't make the cut will be considered positively next year since we won't use it to defend.
So given this recommended award for the reconstruction, taking the original base bid
Yeah.
and total alternate bids, refining that number down takes us to the number that you see on the screen there of 2.39 million for Neendo. And as comparison purposes, just to make sure that they are still the low bidder,
Yeah.
comparing to Felina, they are in fact. One thing to highlight is Ordell Boulevard. There is a substantial amount of storm sewer work that we're proposing on that street this year. That is that's been on the flooding list for a
Yeah.
number of years from
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
I remember all the way back to like the floods back
Right
in
down the hill.
2099,
Doesn't
2000.
really, yeah.
So now that we're looking at reconstructing that road, there is about $157,000 worth of storm work for improvement there that we are proposing to incorporate, which is highlighted kind of with the amount of storm sewer inlets, pipe and so forth on the screen there. So when I go to the next screen here, you'll see that for the stormwater fund, for the bid amount, it's 266,000, but of that 266,000, about 157,000 is on Ordell Boulevard, with the remainder being roof drain collectors and things of that nature on the various other streets, as well as just normal stormwater improvements. So our
Go ahead.
exactly. So our overall total bid amount with everything included, we're at about 2.628 million. Our engineer's estimate was the 2.669, which you had from the presentation back in February. And then our budget is 2.637. So we are running right now about 9,000 to the good.
Yeah.
Now, there are some contingencies kind of built into the overall
Always.
project and things like that. So that would be our recommendation based on this list here as far as what we would be recommending for award. That's also the recommendation that was in the packet presented to the commission in your handouts there.
Mhm.
Again, guess any questions on reconstruction before I move to mill and overlay?
Got it.
So then mill and overlay, high level, the list of streets that were on the bid are as shown on the screen. There was 8 base bid streets and then another 7 alternates.
Doesn't take long.
On this one, we had 4 bidders, Mealy, El Grande, Felino, and Youngblood. You can see the bids for all the bases and alternates on the screen. Going down through and looking at what we considered for award, we chose obviously the base bid streets. We wanted to do alternate 1, which is the intersection of Brafferton and Old Farm, those 2 streets there. Cedar Boulevard, that would finish the lower section of Cedar Boulevard being complete. St. Clair Circle, that's been on the program as an alternate for, I think, 3 years or so.
At least, yeah.
So we wanted to get that on the program. And then item 7 is the utility patch repair. So these are patches for streets that we open as part of the sanitary sewer. Like if we're doing sewer repairs
Sure.
and we open one of our own full depth streets, it's so we can mill and pave and put it back the way it should be. The way we make other utilities put them back as well. So with that, that recommendation equates to this for the budget. So the base bid was $519. You can see the alternates that we're recommending. So a total of $632,000. Our engineer's estimate was about $703. The budget is $654. And of that, the $20,000 that's in that budget would be coming from the sanitary sewer fund because those would be the utility patches that we're repairing because of sanitary sewer repairs. The other $634,000, of that, there's about $305,000 from liquid fuels that would be funded. Questions on the mill and overlay? And I know I'm not beating Andrew already. And then lastly, Scrubgrass Road. One of the items that was on the budget for this year was the traffic calming and the line striping and things like that we were gonna do on Scrubgrass Road. Last year when that was considered, everything looked good, but this winter, like with the deep freeze that we had in December, January, I don't know if anyone's been on Scrubgrass, but it really took a beating over this past winter. So instead of, our recommendation would be that in lieu of doing all that line striping and everything in the tune of about 35,000 or so, instead of doing that up front and then having to redo it after we pave, because we think that it would be better served to maybe pave that street next year and do it all at one time.
And I think that number, quite honestly. when-
That's for
That's just for the-
waterborne paint.
That's just for
If
the
we go with
water
thermo,
and
which
paint.
we,
Yeah,
But the
Right.
recommendation was for
the
something.
thermoplastic,
Thermoplastic.
and all the
Plastic,
delineators
and
and
the
everything.
delineators, it was
Yeah.
close to $100,000.
It was
the commission
100,000.
Approved.
Yes.
So I really don't want to put $100,000 into a street and then have to explain to residents why we're.
No, but it does give us a chance to think about those together. I mean, when we go to redo something to combine those efforts then, as we just discussed.
Right, because you could possibly do something more permanent than
Right.
delineators.
I don't
I
want to
don't
put it back
know.
the same way.
No, I know, but one of the things that's always interesting too, and my bit of caution from the old one in the room is that sometimes you put it in and it doesn't work the way you want it to. And there's nothing wrong with occasionally some temporary that then goes into permanent, because once the permanent's in, it's in. And it's expensive, so just a word of caution.
I will not listen.
I know.
Not
Maybe by doing-
Paul.
But hopefully by doing both at one time, maybe there's some cost savings, which would leave some
Yes.
room for, if we have to go back. and tweak the
Yeah.
design.
I know.
Yeah, I do. I hate to delay, but on the other hand, right, it doesn't make any sense.
doesn't
Spend
make
much
any
money to
sense.
rip it up, so
It's stupid,
definitely let's
yeah.
look at ways we can try to combine traffic calming and redoing the.
Yeah.
And to Ian's point, we had talked about this will be really our first experience using those delineators.
Yeah,
So we want to get some, I'll say, information about, does that create issues in terms of snow removal or
anything else?
garbage and trash collecting
Isn't that
there?
what the city uses on their bike path? They use those delineators all on Penn Avenue. I just was throwing it out as a place to get possible information. So, I think,
Yeah, so ours are a little bit on that radius, so.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
for small,
probably.
it's not through the strip.
Huh?
Doesn't run through the strip
no, it doesn't run through the strip. Just
downtown.
Hampton. We need to talk about our storm inlet later.
You can, Rudy, you can give the ability board the news. Okay.
Thank you. But to Andrew's point, in addition to giving the mobility board the news, I think that we should draft a letter to all of the residents.
Yes,
That are
smart,
part
yeah.
of that process, so that they
Explain that.
are aware
Right.
of what we're doing and why. So, you can work with Laura on getting that information.
Good suggestion, Keith. And in addition, I think when you break the bad news, I mean, I do think it gives the mobility board a chance to think more comprehensively about what gets put back.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it's meant to drive fast on.
Thank you.
We are pushing the last agenda item, which we had was the fleet efficiency policy, so bring that back. You do have a couple minutes if you want to quickly run through boards.
Boards, you got it.
Or not.
Yeah, resiliency, I mean, the big item that came out of resiliency during our last meeting was a recommendation to deal with vacant property, specifically vacant commercial property.
Right.
The commercial districts, which you are all familiar with. So that was a recommendation to the rest of them.
National Library Week. Da, 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 da. So, yeah, Robin and the board did the sanctuary library, book sanctuary announcement. I'll get it straight, book sanctuary announcement on Monday. And I understand it went well, and I watched the video since I couldn't be there Monday morning. It looked great. So, yeah. So tonight we have a resolution, yeah, about the library.
No, they passed the
No,
resolution.
they passed it. Okay, never mind.
We signed the proclamation for National Library Week.
That's what it was. Sorry, it
Congratulations, anyway, it was a big
Yeah.
deal.
was a big deal. It is a big deal. It's a cool thing.
Others, you got, you're good on the school, so there was a larger gap for balancing the budget than what ended up happening, so it was good. They did the budget session where they went over, the details, line items on the budget, so that's done. That should be posted to the school board website tonight or tomorrow. So public can see if they weren't able to attend that meeting, which just happened, all the details on that. So
What's the millage change gonna wind up being?
I don't have the final number. I think they're still waiting to hear back on like final approval from whether they got that additional request that they put in. So I think that'll factor into part of it, but
Yeah, that
they had to use less general fund to cover the deficit than they originally thought they would, without furloughs or any of that stuff. So that was, I think, the overall good part of the resolve, but they're still waiting on the final. They had a request for going over a certain amount tax wise. I don't think they've heard back on that yet.
Did you go?
The other room.